When your system is in that protective state, the clearest, smartest, most grounded part of you is not always fully online. It's not always really involved. So that's why the moment that all these thoughts are happening feels so convincing. Before we get into today's topic, I want to say something really important. If you are tired of being self aware enough to know exactly what pattern you're in, that you keep saying you're going to do these important things and then starting and stopping and not doing it, and it's been months, maybe years that you've been stuck in that pattern, but you're still watching yourself repeat it anyway, I want you in my live class that's happening this coming Tuesday. It is completely free. It is live. I will be there with you. And it is going to shift you in ways that I can pretty much guarantee nothing has ever shifted you before. That pattern I just painted the picture of is a very specific kind of exhausting. Like knowing what you should do, knowing what you want, knowing the version of you you're trying to become and the results you want in your body, your money, your relationships, your life, whatever, your house, anything. And then still somehow ending up back in the old pattern again and again. And it is not because you're lazy or because you need another motivational speech. And it's definitely not because you need to shame yourself into another restart. It is because follow through is an identity pattern. And in this live class, it's called Stop Starting Over, okay? The 5 steps to becoming the woman who follows through. I am going to show you from a neuroscience perspective exactly what needs to shift so consistency becomes normal for you. And this is designed for very busy, overburdened women living chaotic lives with work and life and business and kids and whatever. So this isn't going to be something time heavy or overwhelming. It's an hour of your life. This shitty pattern has taken years from you. Move things around and come live Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Grab the link in the show notes if you're on your device, or go to alliecasazza.com/stopstartingover. Get yourself signed up and I will see you there. Let's get into today's topic. I want to talk about something that makes a lot of women feel insane. And I actually mean that in the most loving ways. I'm going to help you. You can want something so fucking bad. Like you can be so clear. You can be like in the planning stage or the vision stage or the like, oh my God, I'm finally doing this stage. And it feels so real. Like you want the results that having that routine is going to give you. You want the body. You want the business growth. You want the clean house. You want to be able to invite people over and not have to be scrambling right before. You want the calm mornings. You want to be the woman who follows through. You want to be the woman who stops abandoning herself and is living a life in a body with the bank account and the relationships and the results that she wants, that she's been dreaming about. And then the moment comes where you actually have to do the thing. You have to do the things that are going to get you there. And like, it's so annoying and so weird because in that moment, everything in you is like, absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. All of a sudden, the thing that you swore you wanted just feels super heavy. It feels annoying. It feels inconvenient. It feels like absolutely impossible, which is super weird because you were previously like so excited and like so decisive about it. You wanted to be the woman who works out. Then it's time to work out and 10 minutes like feels like the biggest fucking offense. Like 10 minutes of walking when there's so much to do. A 45-minute gym session when I like, no, absolutely not. Like how dare this require my actual body and my actual participation? Like it just feels like a major drag and there's so much resistance. Another example, you wanted to post consistently for your business and now it's time to write content and actually record it and post it. And all of a sudden, all the ideas you wrote down just feel like they're not hitting. It feels like embarrassing. You decided you wanted to get your money right. Okay. And then all of a sudden it's time to look at the numbers, time to open the bank account and take a look. And just feels like the junk drawer really needs to be organized right now. Like immediately, like I'm actually just going to do that instead. You know, you wanted the morning routine and the morning comes and you were just like so deeply offended that the routine has to be in the morning and you're so tired and like, this is not going to work for you. This one I see a lot. You want a better relationship with yourself. And then it requires you to, make a different choice and show up differently. And all of a sudden the old pattern starts, making a lot of sense again. And it's valid. It makes sense. We're just going to go back to that. And this is the part that messes with these women I speak with all the time. My clients, the people in the collective, like this kind of pattern comes up all the time. And it messes with you because you really did want it. That's what makes this so frustrating. Like you were not bullshitting yourself. You were not like fake motivated. You really meant it when you said that you were done not having what you want, not being the woman that you're proud of. You meant it when you made the plan. And then the moment came where, you had to live inside of that plan and something and you started resisting it. So then you start questioning everything. Like, maybe I don't actually want this. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe this isn't aligned. Maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe I need a different plan. Maybe I just need to wait till life calms down a bit. You know what? I must just be lazy. I guess I'm just not the disciplined type. Maybe, and sometimes it goes really dark depending on like your inner voice. Sometimes it's like, you feel like you're broken. No. I want to slow all the way down here. The resistance to doing the things that are going to get you what you want, that doesn't automatically mean that you don't want it. Most of the time, it means that you are kind of coming up against the part of you that's just not wired to be that version of you yet. Everybody wants the body. Everybody wants the money, the bank account. Everybody wants the success. Everybody wants the routine, the peaceful morning, the calm life, the results that come from doing the thing. You want it, but then you meet resistance to actually showing up and doing it. And you just kind of start to doubt. It sucks. That's the conversation I want to have today. Wanting the outcome and living out the identity day to day are two very different experiences in the brain and the nervous system. Okay. So obviously we're going to come at this from a neuroscience perspective, but we're going to make it super interesting. It's going to click. It's going to give you an aha moment. Let's go. The outcome, the result is very easy to want. Of course, you want to feel hot. Of course, you want to feel strong. Of course, you want to feel mentally clear and at peace. Of course, you want your home to look good and feel really light. Of course, you want your business to grow. Of course, you want to feel good in your body. Of course, you want to be consistent. Of course, you want self-trust. You want a good relationship with yourself. You want self-respect. The outcome feels so good. The identity shift is where the discomfort starts. Becoming the woman who has the outcome requires you to become unfamiliar to your current self. That's the part people don't want to talk about. And that's the part that really trips people up when they're, starting to try to do something different. They want to talk about the goal. They want to talk about the dream. They make the vision board. They want to talk about that new routine, how good it's going to feel. They plan, they have a strategy. They love the fresh start. All of that has its place. You can't really begin changing. You can't really live in a way that gets you the result without having all those things. But the moment of follow through is where your actual wiring gets involved. When you're making the plan, you're getting that dopamine hit and you're motivated and you're, putting the plan together, making the vision board, thinking about how good it's going to feel, going on Pinterest and finding like pretty images of like the girl working out and eating vegetables and all that. Like it feels so good. The moment you have to actually show up and be that girl and live in your normal life, in your normal house with your nervous system, with your family, with your schedule, with your everything, now it's depending on your subconscious wiring. And if you haven't changed that, you were just going off of like plans and desiring the outcome and motivation, then that's not going to do shit for you. Your brain is not only asking, is this good for me? Your brain is asking, is this familiar? Is this safe? Okay. And that matters. It goes back to your brain does not give a fuck about your goals, about your dreams, about your desires. It doesn't know. It doesn't care. All it cares about is keeping you safe. And how does it know what's safe and what's not? What is familiar? So even if having a really shitty morning routine or no routine at all is, it sucks, If it's familiar, that's what your brain is going to try to keep you in. If being really unhealthy and really overweight is uncomfortable, but it's what you've known, it's familiar to your brain, it's going to try to keep you there. So every time you go to do something that's good for you, if it's going to change, your body, your identity, your wiring, like it's going to go against that wiring, it's going to try to pull you back, even if what you're doing is so good for you and is going to get you what you desire. What's good for you and what's familiar to your brain are not always the same thing. So consistency can be really good for you and feel really unfamiliar. So your brain can see it as a threat. Literally just being consistent in something that's healthy. It's like so dumb, but this is how it works. Being seen and growing your audience online, can be really good for you and really good for your bank account, good for your brand, but feel like a major threat. So your brain will work hard to self-sabotage all your efforts to get more visible. Looking at your money and tracking your money and being involved with your money instead of avoiding like you always have can be super good for you and make you more money, but still make you want to avoid it. Your brain will make you want to avoid it to the point where you can like feel it in your body. Like there's so much resistance and anxiety and avoidance, right? Rest can be so good for you, but still feel unsafe if your system is used to overfunctioning. Taking action on something can be really good for you and still feel wrong if your brain is used to overthinking and waiting and never actually doing the thing. Okay, following through on something can be really good for you and totally, like if you did it consistently, it would totally change your life in the best ways. But it could still feel really uncomfortable if abandoning yourself has become a familiar pattern. If you never follow through, you always abandon your goals and, kind of ghost yourself, and that's familiar, then that's what you're going to fall back to. So the desire you have for change is real, but the resistance is also real. They can both be there. One part of you wants the future, another part of you is attached to what it knows. This is why so much like self-improvement advice and self-help stuff makes women feel worse, because it kind of acts like once you want something badly enough, you should just do it. And like, okay, great. Thank you. So helpful. The fuck? Like, that's literally not how the brain works. Your subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of your behavior, your habits, your patterns. Like, it is a prediction machine. It is constantly using what you have repeated in the past to predict what is safe, what's normal, okay, and what kind of person you are. There is a particular part of your brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS. And one of the easiest ways to understand it is your brain filters the world based on what it believes is relevant to you. So you're not seeing the world as it is. You're seeing it as you believe it is. Okay, like you buy a white SUV and suddenly every other car on the road is a white SUV. They were always there. Your brain just got new instructions on what to notice and what to prioritize, what to filter in. Okay, and that same kind of filtering is happening with your identity. So if your brain has a deep embedded story that says something like, I'm someone who starts strong and falls off, that's just what I have always done, then it is going to collect evidence for that. And it'll magnify the day you skipped. It'll shrink the 3 days you showed up and magnify the day you skipped because it's in line with what the wiring is. Is this making sense? I hope this is making sense. Your brain is going to make the old pattern feel obvious and the new evidence feel like it doesn't even count, to keep you in that safe space of how you're wired right now, who you are at a subconscious wiring level. So when you make a plan and then you hit resistance, you're not dealing with, a blank slate. You're dealing with a brain that has history, a nervous system that has deeply embedded patterns, a body that has learned what feels normal and how we respond to resistance, which is probably usually to not do the thing or to avoid or whatever, right? This is why the planning stage feels so different from the living it stage. The version of you who makes the plan is usually in a very different state than the version of you who has to actually follow through on it. Okay, the planning version of you might be really calm and inspired and fed up enough to change. Kind of like riding the wave of the relief of a new beginning, because a new beginning feels really good. That version of you, she's got ideas, she has new standards, she's got a vision, she can see it so clearly, and I love her. Like, I really do. We love her. She wants better for you. But unfortunately, she is not always the one who has to wake up Tuesday morning and live out the actual plan after a really long day, like a really hard yesterday, right? So the version of you who has to live the plan is in real life. And she is tired. She has kids asking her for things. She has work. She has emails. She did not sleep great. Her house is loud. Her body feels off. Her hormones may be doing whatever the fuck they're doing. Her brain is already negotiating before the day even gets going. Already negotiating like how to just put it off till later. Today's not it. It's going to be too tough today. And her nervous system is not sitting there in a clean, beautiful Pinterest board version of life. So when the plan was made without accounting for the woman who has to actually live it, accounting for the real you in your real life, the plan starts feeling like pressure really fucking fast. And then she thinks the pressure means that she picked the wrong plan. And maybe, sometimes we do that. But a lot of the time, the plan did not include her actual life. And that is the problem. You do not need to shame the version of you who made the plan. Like, she wanted better for you. Those intentions were pure. But you do need to stop making plans from a version of you who is not the one who has to live them out. So this is where I see a lot of my members getting trapped, a lot of the women I'd speak with and in my DMs and stuff getting trapped. They make plans from the relief state. Then they try to live them out from the current nervous system state in their real life with, the chaos and all the things. Then they're shocked when the plan just feels really different and they're not excited, they're not motivated. Like, of course it feels different. Planning it gave you relief. Living it requires a whole new identity that you don't have yet. It requires evidence that this is who you are. The brain needs evidence. Evidence is where the brain starts changing. It doesn't start changing when you make the plan. It doesn't start changing when you declare that this is it. This is who I am now. The evidence. This is also why resistance shows up so fast, okay? Your brain's first job is not to help you become your highest self, which I know is like so fucking rude. But its first job is just to keep you safe, right? So before your brain is, a helpful strategist for whatever goal you have, whatever plan you want to carry out, it is a survival machine. And it is scanning constantly, way beneath your conscious mind. The annoying part is that your brain does not always separate physical danger from social danger very cleanly. Okay. So being judged, rejected, exposed, misunderstood, saying you're going to start something new and then failing in front of people you told about it, disappointing someone, being seen in a new way when you've always been, overweight and now you're trying to be healthy, or you've always been XYZ and now you're trying to be this. Like, all of that can register as threat in your brain, okay? To where you feel it in your body and you don't so badly resist doing the things that are going to take you to the results of being different than you've been. So when you go to do a thing that changes your life, your system is probably not going to be like, oh, amazing, we're becoming her, let's fucking go. It's probably going to be like, bitch, absolutely not. This is unfamiliar, not safe. Please return to the old pattern immediately. That protection can show up in a lot of different ways. Most common are hesitation, overthinking, needing more clarity before you take action, which you don't need more clarity. Feels valid, but it's an excuse, right? Your brain is creating that to keep you away from doing the things that are going to change you. It can sound like all of a sudden just being exhausted, wanting to clean something instead of doing the thing you need to do. It can sound like, oh, this just isn't aligned. Yes, it is. This is a deep desire you have. A lot of the time, especially when I work with mothers, it sounds like, oh, maybe I should just wait. It's not a good time. And sometimes the most lame non-effort version is like, oh, I just really don't feel like it. But sometimes it just feels so valid. And these are the things we're not judging ourselves. We're just being real with what the pattern is and how it shows up and what's happening. When your system is in that protective state, the clearest, smartest, most grounded part of you is not always fully online. It's not always really involved. So that's why the moment that all these thoughts are happening feels so convincing. You're not sitting there calmly evaluating the situation with like full access to all your wisdom. You know, most of the time, your nervous system is trying to get back to familiar. You can go in fight or flight just from deciding to do an action that is different than the version of you've been, even though you so badly don't want to be here anymore. Okay. So the most common mistake women make here is making the resistance mean like it's a sign to stop. Okay. They feel the discomfort. They feel like they want to avoid, they don't want to do it. All these things are coming up. Their subconscious mind is creating all these things to keep them away from doing the thing. So they feel that and they immediately make it mean like, you know what, maybe I just don't really want it. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe this is not the right time, not the right plan. I should wait till things are easier. Maybe I need to restart with a different system. And listen, I am not saying that resistance is always meaningless. There are plenty of moments when resistance is important information. There are moments when the plan is wrong, like it's not going to work for you. There's moments when your body needs to rest. There's moments when, something actually does need to be adjusted. So I'm not here to turn you into like a little productivity robot. Okay, that's not the work. The work is being able to tune in and see the truth and tell the truth with yourself. Because a lot of you are using resistance as like the final answer before you've even really looked and like gotten curious of like, what is this? Is this really a stop sign or do I need to push through? Like, of course you're going to feel resistance. You're literally doing something or starting something that's going against how your subconscious mind views you. It's biology. It's neuroscience. You can't argue with that. It's a fact that it's going to try to keep you away from doing that. Even it's going to be so good, though it's going to be so good for you, right? You're a human woman with a body and a life and patterns and a nervous system. These things are going to happen. So I think the better thing to ask here is instead of like, oh, like, do I feel resistance? Like, of course you do. I think it's, what is this resistance trying to do? Is it trying to protect me? Is it trying to keep me safe? Is it trying to keep me the same? Right? Do I need to adjust something? Is the resistance trying to tell me something that's actually true, or is it self-sabotage? Like, is it helping me avoid discomfort? Is it trying to pull me back into a pattern that I already know that I don't want to be anymore? Like, asking these questions and having this self-awareness changes the entire conversation. Because now resistance is not the boss. It's just information and you're noticing it and you're questioning it instead of just automatically, subconsciously letting it be the deciding factor. You can listen to the resistance without, handing it the keys and letting it get in the driver's seat. So let's make this really specific, okay? Working out. You want to be someone who moves her body every day. You want to feel stronger. You want to have energy. You want to feel good in your clothes. You want to feel hot. You want the identity and the results of being someone who takes care of herself. But then it's time to move. Right? Time to do the workout that you planned. And all of a sudden, the whole thing feels like super irritating. The workout clothes feel wrong. The amount of time you could give feels pointless. You can't give much time, but a full workout feels impossible today. Your brain just says like, oh, you're too tired. You don't have enough time. This won't even count. You're not even going to be able to, work out enough to break a sweat. So what's the point? Or I have time and space to do this whole workout, but I'm just so tired. Like I already missed yesterday. So who cares? Whatever, however it shows up. And if you don't understand what's happening in those moments, then you will make that resistance mean that you failed again. And then you're just stacking more evidence that you are not the type of person that follows through. But maybe that is the exact moment your brain expects you to abandon yourself. Maybe the workout is not the only thing happening. Maybe the identity you've had for a long time is being challenged and your brain is waiting to see if this is who you are now or if this is another temporary idea that you're going to ditch again. Because that's part of who you are at the moment, right? In terms of your subconscious wiring. So those moments is where the new evidence gets built. It's not in doing the workout perfectly or following the plan strictly all week. It's in the moment where you feel the pull to abandon the plan and to choose, you choose a smaller version and still let it count. You don't have to do it all exactly as planned. We talked about this when we just did Workout Rewire inside of the collective. Maybe you planned an hour-long workout at the gym, but you end up doing a 10-minute like walk around the block. That counts. You letting that count instead of abandoning the whole plan because of perfectionism, because you couldn't do the whole workout perfectly, that is building evidence that you are the type of person that follows through, that you are the type of person that moves their body every day, even if it's not perfect. Is that making sense? It's the same thing with anything. Okay. Let's go back to the business example. Like, you want to post online consistently for your business, for your personal brand. You want visibility. You want to grow. You want people to know what you do. You want the bigger audience. You want more clients. You want sales. You want the work to land with the right people, right? Your message. And then it's time to post or pitch or send the email or make the offer or whatever. And all of a sudden you feel like you need to think about it more. Nothing sounds right. Everything you prepared just looks like shit all of a sudden. And so you tell yourself, like, you just need to refine it. You need to make it better. You just need to get the wording right. And maybe you do. But maybe you're coming up against the discomfort of actually being seen, and that doesn't feel safe to your system. Maybe the issue is not that the content isn't good enough, but that being visible by a lot of people is asking your nervous system to experience something that it is programmed to try to avoid. That doesn't mean that you need to force yourself into a panic, right? And like push yourself to post and just do it when you're anxious. It just means that you stop labeling every single visibility block, which is going to be lots because your subconscious is trying to keep you safe. You stop making every single block a strategy problem and like an excuse. Because if your system reads being seen as unsafe, another content calendar is not going to fix that. Taking the ideas and running it through ChatGPT one more time and seeing if there's any other better way to say it, like, that's not going to fix it. You need to get in your power and step into your voice and own your voice and let yourself know that it's safe to be seen, and regulate yourself with, the techniques I'm always mentioning to you guys. If you're in the collective, the things I'm teaching you all the time, while you take action anyway. You have to create evidence that being seen is safe enough with one honest post, making the offer and not editing yourself or trying to like water down the fact that you're selling. It's like these little reps of small actions that lead to evidence that this is who you are now. It's one small rep of letting yourself be perceived without spiraling about what are people going to think about me? Are they judging me? Did I say that wrong? Am I going to offend anybody? Like, just posting and letting it be, letting them go ahead and misunderstand you if that's what's going to happen. Right? Same thing with everything. Okay. Let's take money as another example. Let's say you want to feel powerful with money. You want to feel like you're connected to your money. You know what's going on with your money instead of avoiding it. Okay. You want clarity. You want stability. You want to stop avoiding your money. And then it's time to log in and look at the account, and your body physically like resists, like absolutely the fuck not. All of a sudden it's like, this is too much. I feel tired. I'm overwhelmed. I actually just need to go switch the laundry. Like, those things don't mean that you don't want financial clarity anymore. It just means that to get clarity, you have to stop hiding. And hiding is probably really familiar. Avoiding is probably really familiar. So the resistance shows up. And again, the question is not, why am I like this? The question is, what is the resistance trying to protect me from feeling? Same with routines. So many of you DM me about how do you get into a routine? How do you create consistency with a routine? And what do you want here? Okay, let's say you want calm mornings. You want a clean start. You want the grounded version of you at the start of the day to carry into the rest of the day. Then the morning comes and the routine requires your actual participation. The vision was so lovely, but the lived experience is boring, inconvenient, and uncomfortable. That is the truth of becoming her. So much of becoming her happens in the moments that do not feel magical at all. It is not always going to feel like a big breakthrough, or a huge emotional shift, and it's not always going to feel so good. It's making the bed when your brain wants to grab your phone or get back into the bed. It's going for a 10-minute walk when part of you is just really annoyed and doesn't want to, just wants to sit on the couch. It's sending the uncomfortable text message that confirms the boundary you set that's trying to get crossed. It's opening the bank account and looking. It's choosing to just do even a smaller version of what you said you were going to do. That's where identity changes. And this is where willpower alone starts to fail. Okay? Willpower costs you energy. It's like a tax, okay? Every time you use willpower, and that's what you're relying on to do something, to take action, it takes something from the tank. So yes, you can force the behavior for a while. You can white knuckle it, right? We've all done this before. You can push, you can make yourself, do the thing. You can rely on effort and willpower and force. And there are seasons where a little bit of that is just kind of part of the process. That's why we have willpower. We have access to that. But if the behavior still feels like a fight with who you believe you are at a subconscious level, the moment that life gets stressful or busy or emotional, hormonal, chaotic, or just anything human, you will fall back to the default, back to the identity that feels the most familiar because you are relying on willpower instead of rewiring your brain at an identity level. That is why identity work matters so much. When something matches who you believe you are, it does not require the same amount of force. You do not need a motivational speech to get it done. Like, you don't need a motivational speech to brush your teeth. You just do it because it belongs to the identity. So the work is not to become a woman who forces herself forever. That's exhausting, and it's not going to work. Unless you want a lot of health issues, namely high cortisol and adrenal fatigue and all kinds of shit like that, okay? The work is to create enough repeated evidence that the new behavior starts feeling like you. That is how the brain changes. Repetition. Your brain builds more of what you repeat. Okay, the pathways you use most become the pathways, the neural pathways that your brain reaches for first. So if the repeated pattern is, I want something, but then I hit resistance when it's time to take action to get it, so then I back out, then that pathway gets stronger every time you fall into that line, that pattern. If the repeated pattern becomes, I want something, I hit that resistance, I pause, I tell the truth to myself, and I regulate through taking action. I choose the smallest version of taking that action. That pathway starts getting stronger. Does that make sense? That's the whole game. It's not about intensity and perfection. It's about simple repetition, not a giant overhaul, but getting little pieces of evidence, collecting them and stacking them up. And this is where I want you to stop waiting to feel like the woman before you act like the woman. Because that's one of the biggest traps. You're waiting to feel ready. You're waiting for motivation. You're waiting for clarity. You're waiting to feel like the version of you who follows through. But feeling like her, that doesn't come until after you've stacked some evidence. It doesn't come before that. You do not wait to feel like her. You create proof that you are becoming her. You create one piece of evidence that says, this is who I'm becoming. You can want it and resist it. Two things can live together at the same time. You can be scared or anxious and still move forward, still take that small action. You can feel annoyed and not want to do it and still do 10 minutes. You can feel exposed and nervous and still post the content. You can feel uncomfortable and still look at the numbers in your bank account. You can feel like the old version of yourself and still create one piece of a little bit of evidence for the new version that you're becoming. That's the shift. Instead of waiting to feel like her, you start creating evidence that you are becoming her. Okay. And please hear me, because this is a fine line. This is not about forcing. This is not about making the plan like really dramatic and like going harder and pushing. Like, a lot of you do not need to go harder. You just need to get more honest with yourself. You need to stop making resistance the final boss, and stop building like a whole mental case for why today doesn't count because you didn't do it perfectly and you feel like an emotional mess and everything is not how you saw it on your vision board or whatever. You have to stop abandoning the identity, the new identity, the second it feels inconvenient to live out. The work is meeting that moment differently, meeting the moment that you normally fall off track differently. So, I want to put this into action for you. I want to give you one question to use this week. I want you to come back to this, okay, throughout the week. When I start resisting the thing I said I wanted, what is it that I'm actually resisting? That's it. So before you fall off track, before you restart, before you make a whole new plan, a whole new vision board, before you decide that you're failing again, ask that question. What is it that I'm actually resisting here? Am I really resisting the task, or am I resisting the result it's going to get me if I keep doing this? Am I resisting being seen? Am I resisting, the new version of me? Am I resisting the truth about my money? Am I resisting this, what it's going to mean to my family members if I become different, if I start to look different or live different, if I break a habit or start a new habit? Okay. One of the biggest things I realized about myself is that I wasn't resisting like committing to something like a new habit or, a new routine or whatever. I was resisting the loss of my favorite exit ramp. Like, my favorite exit ramp, my subconscious mind's favorite exit ramp was like, oh, it's just a bad time. Like, I'm too busy. I just can't commit to that right now. And so I like committed to nothing. I was actually subconsciously though committed to staying the same and staying in a lower quality of life, lower than I was happy with. If I follow through here, then I can't keep saying I'm just the kind of person who never sticks with anything. If I post the content, I can't keep hiding behind, oh, I'm still figuring it out. I'm still starting, and not being seen and not putting myself out there. If I look at my money, then I can't keep pretending I don't know what's going on. Ignorance is bliss, right? But is it? If I move my body today, then I can't keep saying I need a perfect plan before I begin. If I let the just a 10-minute walk count, then I can't keep saying I need a perfect plan before I start. Follow through removes some of your favorite hiding places, and that is uncomfortable, and that is why a part of you resists it. Because the old identity is familiar and the new identity is uncomfortable. So after you ask the question, what am I really resisting here? Take the smallest next step, not the most impressive step or the perfect step. Okay. Not the step that's going to fix your whole life. Just the smallest, simplest next step. 10 minutes, one post, posting it even though it doesn't feel perfect. Okay. One walk, one little decision, one honest conversation with yourself where you stop pretending you don't know what's happening and looking at it, looking at the resistance, and then taking one little small action and letting it count. That part matters more than taking the small action. You have to let it count. Perfectionism means not letting those little things count, and perfectionism has ruined your life in so many ways. A lot of you do the small version of the thing and then you immediately dismiss it because it wasn't the full plan. Like, oh, well, it was only 10 minutes. It was only one post. I have so much further to go. It was only a tiny bit. I didn't really count. Stop doing that. That's old identity math, right? It's bullshit. Your brain needs evidence and you keep throwing the evidence away because it's not perfect. Let the little rep count. Let the 10 minutes count. Let the imperfect post count. Let the small decision you made count. Let the little moment where you didn't abandon your plan fully, let that count. That is how you become someone different. You do not become her by waiting until the resistance disappears. You become her by creating evidence inside the resistance. Does that make sense? Creating little bits of evidence that you are becoming this version of you after all, even though there's resistance, even though you're a little anxious, even though it feels really uncomfortable, because you've always planned to be her, but you've never actually become her. If this is making something click for you, girl, I want you in Tuesday's class. It is free. It is live. There is no replay. So you got to put it on the calendar and you got to show up. Okay. The shift happens live here. Okay. The class is called Stop Starting Over, 5 Steps to Becoming the Woman Who Follows Through. Okay. This episode is about why you can want something so bad and then still resist it the second it's a time to actually follow through and do it, right? In the class, we go deeper into what actually has to shift so that follow through becomes normal for you at a subconscious level, not something that you have to keep forcing or keep restarting, okay? And definitely not something that only works when you're motivated and regulated and well rested and everything's perfect. It's like an imaginary version of your life. This works. It's real follow through in your actual life with your actual nervous system, with your current shitty patterns, okay? Because you do not need another plan that only works for the fantasy version of you. You need to become the woman who can meet the real moment where you normally fall off track differently. Okay, the class is happening live on Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. The link is in the show notes, or you can just do alliecasasa.com/stop starting over. No spaces, no dashes, nothing, just all squished together. Okay, stop starting over. And before we wrap, I want you to take this with you. You can want the life and still resist the becoming. You can want the life and still resist becoming the actual actions required to become the version of you who creates it, who has it. That does not mean you're failing. It does not mean it's not meant for you. It just means that you found the moment where the pattern usually breaks and it can finally change. So this next week, when you feel yourself resisting the thing that you said you wanted, don't immediately run from it and immediately abandon it. I want you to pause and tell the truth to yourself about what the resistance is really about. What are you really resisting here? Then create one tiny piece of evidence that you're different now, that you can follow through, small enough that your brain cannot, deny that you did do the thing. It's small and it's a mini version of what you had planned, but it's real enough that it counts, because that is where the shifting really starts happening. And please, please, please screenshot, share. Let's get this in front of other women so we can stop sitting in our own shit and actually level up to the version of ourselves that we want to be. And if this episode made you think of one specific woman, send it to her. Just text her and say, listen to this. This explains what we were talking about. This explains why you can want change and then never actually create it. That language alone can give someone so much relief, you're not alone and you're not crazy and this is a thing and here's how we overcome it. And again, if this hit you, screenshot it, tag me on Instagram, tell me the line that got you. I want to know. I want to know what's resonating. I want to know what's really hitting. It helps me know how to create more of that, what to create more of, and what to shift away from. So I love you so much. I'm rooting for you, and I will see you in Tuesday's class. Bye, babes.